Hi guys, my name is Brock Powell. I'm a voice actor. If you don't know who I am, that's okay. I have been voice acting for the last 8, 10 years, and have basically gotten an amazing opportunity to work with Dan and Swampy as one of the main ensemble actors on Milo season 1 and 2. So you've heard me as Alien Pilot from season 2. Uh, Having to say all sorts of jowly things like this. But I also do a ton of creature work, and I've had to cover a lot of different pistachions and aliens and dogs. Um, yeah, I do a lot of work on that show. I do a lot of work for some other Disney shows, including Big Hero 6. I was the Evil Sheep Protocol for Baymax Dreams, the short series. Recently was in an episode of Rise of the TMNT, doing sort of a TJ Miller character. I was the voice of the Kool-Aid Man for a while. Oh, yeah. And if you're a gamer at all, I not only voice the Dark Elf King in God of War, but I also play Hanbei the Undying in Sekiro. So a lot of people enjoyed that game.
That is so cool. Yeah, no, as far as Disney, that's awesome that you're getting so many jobs within Disney itself. That it's kind of like you get to go back and forth and do the different
Really
shows.
cool. Yeah, and I've got a couple things that I've been able to work on with them that I'm really excited to talk about when I can. But I love the Walt Disney Company. I got started with them as a cast member in the theme parks first, helping out with a show called Turtle Talk with Crush. Yeah, dude, you so totally rock.
Oh
So,
my gosh, you did Turtle Talk with Crush.
oh, dude, yeah, man. So that's where I got my start, and then it led to honestly more than I could have imagined.
So, for everybody, can you name every character that you played on Milo Murphy's Law?
So I was talking to the casting director of the show today because I was clearing some of the questions you sent over, and I cannot. I voice a lot of characters. If you go to my IMDb page, they did a very good job. Whoever was up on that has been doing a really good job of trying to keep track. Um, Season 1, I did Llama Judge. I'm a lot of weird, random ancillary characters. If it's not Dan and it's not Swampy, it might be me. So
Yes, the
that's
running joke is Dan Swampy are like almost all the background duos, which there's like 100.
yeah. So and they were really generous. Season 2, they let me have just so much fun. There is an episode where Dr. Doofenshmirtz, once the crossovers happened, is like helping out in the museum, and I voice a very boring museum director who wants to thank Dr. Doofenshmirtz. So stuff like that. Uh, the episode where Diogi is in love. I voice a bunch of the dogs, including Pia, who's the little poodle that he falls in love with.
Pia, yeah, they didn't name the dog, so that's really cool. That
So it's Pia is the name of the poodle. I actually was looking the script up. Every dog, and to the credit of the writers of the show, every character had a name. So all the creatures and short of like the pistachions, which would be
yeah, just
pistachio one, two.
pistachios.
The every character had a name, and the level of attention to detail for you as an actor is always really fun. Um, but yeah, and then I was also Dr. Not Sorry in the Agent DOG episode when we finally get the that Alka tie-in. So I was Dr. Not Sorry, which was really cool. Yeah, I mean, I had the time of my life working on that show, and uh, if you were to try to ask me to name all the characters I did, I'm very grateful to say that they were very generous and let me voice way too many characters on that show. So if you listen, you can usually hear me in season 1 as a character named Caro. Caro's
Caro.
basically, yeah, he was only named in the script, but there is in rooting for the enemy, there's a cutaway scene with all the football players, and the coach is talking and telling all the kids to put their phones down or something, and Caro was always the butt of those jokes with just like, sorry, what were you saying? Like,
Were
so
you were you the kid who's like, I'm saving up for med school at the ice cream stand? Yes, no. That was
maybe it's been so long since I've recorded. I'm definitely the gecko. I'm the gecko mascot. So in one of the first episodes I did, I would, go geckos go geckos go, and then we did like we had to do that in ADR, which is ADR is automated dialogue replacement, or basically anytime you add dialogue after the animation's done.
You got to replace
So
the scratch, right?
you're
Yeah.
right. So a lot of my work on season 1, there were already things animated, and I would come in and I would just, there was a French guy in an episode of Mondo, and I would just have to like hit the timing in just a way and replace the other actors. Season 2, I actually got to do a lot of prelay work, which means that it was my performance, and then they drew
around the performance. Yeah, that's so cool.
Which is obviously like so fulfilling in some really cool ways. The alien pilot character, because when we got the scripts about aliens and stuff, and it was obvious that season 2 was going to take an even further sci-fi, like away from the Back to the Future and the multiverse and the time travel stuff, it's going to go even further into like aliens and galactic stuff. I was super excited because I'm a giant Star Wars fan. So getting to record with Mark Hamill and work with Mark Hamill was just a constant, like, the team was so kind because they would always, anytime Mark would record, they would basically make sure that either my session was right before or right after.
That's so amazing. They just put you right next and you get to see them.
It was cool. It's pretty unreal. I still get geeky when I think about it, but a lot of times as actors, we get pictures first. But with season 2, when the Octalians were introduced, there weren't any drawings at the time. So we were really trying to shape what the character sounds like. And I did the aliens in the pilot episode. Those are all me.
Those are all you. Oh, so you've been playing aliens since day one.
So along with Dee, and then also Dan. So Dan and I reprised those aliens later. And Dan is doing one alien and I'm doing the other, and he's got a really funny way of getting into backwards talk. I won't give his secret away, but he has a phrase that he says that he knows backwards that he's able to use to make alien sounds happen. And it was trippy because when he taught me how to do it, it was like I had to relearn how to do alien sounds because I kind of had my own way of doing it. And working I never got to record along with Dee, but a lot of times I would record, and I know Dee, but a lot of times I would record with Dee afterwards, basically chasing a scene and filling in the blanks. So a lot of times I'd be listening to what Dee was doing in playback and having to kind of approximate it on the fly and like, okay, I think he's
kind of work with trying to make very similar sounds and
or different enough. Like if he had a dog that was like, "Whoa," I would take a dog that was, "Whoa." You would want it to be different enough that it was obvious that it was
right. Work with the different timbres, and Dan's voice as the alien is just, even then it's still recognizable just because his voice has a certain, I don't know, like, is it a rasp? Is it just a timbre? Or
you texture things like that are really everyone's instruments. Once you really get used to hearing an instrument, and once people go back and listen, you can pick me out of almost any scene I'm in. There are certain vocal things that I think an actor can do to really mask their voice. But at the end of the day, the most important thing are the tempos and the heart of the character.
So I'm guessing your favorite character to play on Milo probably was Alien Pilot, right? Just because he had the most kind of role in the show.
I would say Alien Pilot was really fun. I love Dr. Not Sorry. That was a really fun recording session. I just always enjoyed being in the mix. So even if it was like a one-off character, like a small thing, it was just always really fun to be in kind of in and out. But I'd say Alien Pilot was my absolute favorite because we really got to, Swampy and I worked because he was the voice director on the show. So we worked to come up with something that was basically like, oh, it's a squid monster alien. So like a bad Admiral Akbar. And then that's kind of where the voice developed.
Like, do I look like I'm on vacation?
Yeah. So for me, we were doing, when I was doing Alien Pilot, it had a sort of like this kind of thing, and trying to keep it different enough for Monogram, but also trying to figure out where it would kind of live.
Did you ever actually meet with Joanna Hausman in person to record, since you guys have a lot of back and forth?
So I never got to meet her in person, but I obviously got to work a lot with her digitally and her work. And she's so funny. She's hilarious.
I would love to see some of the outtakes from her lines as Alien Commander. I can only imagine the chaos.
There's a lot. And especially there were a lot of scenes that we had to do together where I was voicing a lot of the Octalians in the same scene. I forget which one it is, but it's Josh Pruitt wrote this episode. And it was the one that was basically a reversal of the movie Alien, but instead of
that was Abducting Murphy's Law. That
there
was,
you go,
yeah, halfway through.
one of my favorites. But there's a scene where all the aliens are trying to figure out where Milo is because he's in the vents. If you listen to that scene, Alien Pilot is there, but the other 3 aliens that are talking in that scene are also me. And that was just it just happened on the day that like I was there, and that there were other aliens. And in the script, it wasn't clear necessarily like what the name was, but we worked it all out, and we were able to come up with different performances for each of them. And so I voiced Beak, who's the yellow one that has the little beak.
Yeah, I know you were saying, I think at one point, like, he's the scientist, which also works with the fact that his name is Beak, like a
beaker.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. And then there's one that's talking about the eggs, and I forget his name, but he's basically a bad Ray Romano is what I was doing, because I just at some point you're just trying to come up with different sounds.
He's like showing the picture. He's gonna lay eggs, and he's gonna feed us to his hatchlings.
Yep, exactly.
Was there ever a take that you did that you were just like, oh, that was like something kind of really, really out there, and then Dan Swampy decided to actually use it in the final mix?
There were a couple things that I was pretty surprised to find out that like made it in there. I'm trying to think of, like, I did the Nature Surveyor in season 2. There's this really great bit, this run-on bit where these 2 guys are trying to build out part of the Danville swamp, and this really long monologue, and so there was a lot of stuff in there that like any time a joke would be snuck in off of the script, if you didn't get it in the recording for prelay,
they'd bring you in to dub it.
So if you did ADR and you got, like, for me, if I got hit under something or the character's face wasn't seen, that's if there's time, that's your clearance to like add in a little something. So like in the Doctor Not Sorry scene, there's this whole thing of like, oh hey, what kind of cliff has a waterfall in it, or like what kind of park has a cliff, eh? And so then there's a fall off the waterfall, and you hear me go, yay! And then I added in a still not sorry. And they left that in because it just fit with the timing, and we managed to get it in one. And so things like that. I remember one of my first records, I was doing Walla, which means that like on top of the characters that you have that are like named characters in crowd scenes and stuff, I think it was the Battle of the Bands episode. Can you remember the title of that one?
I think it was just Battle of the Bands. That was it had Olivia Olson, and I know that was kind of the big name attached to that one. And I think Aaron Daniel Jacob did some singing for that one too.
Yep. And so I'm in the rock band in that. I'm one of the guitarists, but that I was also in the crowd. And there was like a prom scene, if not in that episode, in another one that we did at the same recording session.
Oh yeah, school dance.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we came up with this really insane character that was just my Walla was entirely this guy getting stood up at the dance looking for his date.
Oh no.
And so we something like, is that Denise? Denise is me. And so we did this whole like running narrative underneath the whole thing. And
I have never noticed that. Did that make it in or no?
I don't think it did.
Okay.
They had the next person after, like the next actress became Denise, and then listening to playback, her dialogue was her trying to run away and like avoid this character. But because it needs to get mixed in and things need to get tightened, sometimes bits like that don't make it in. But we had a lot of fun doing stuff like that.
We all know Dan Swampy had to recast Ferb, and they got David Ergo Jr. And I know you're pretty good friends with him. Did you guys meet through Milo, or did you like bring him to the set to audition? And did you audition for Ferb yourself?
Okay, so I did audition for Ferb, and David and I met at a gathering at Swampy's. Swampy has a production house where he does a lot of animation, and we met there for the first time, and he was introduced to me as the person that would now be Ferb. And we just became fast friends. I mean, it kind of goes back to the thing that I was saying about Dan and Swampy and the funny coming first. Character integrity is really important to me, especially as a voice actor. The best person should have the job. It should go to
absolutely,
the best.
Yeah.
So when it became obvious that Ferb was in great hands, it was just a no-brainer. And there was obviously, we became really fast friends because we had connected over not only the love of voiceover, but also really being excited about working on the show together and the love of these characters, both the old characters and the new characters.
Can you tell me a little bit more about like what constitutes an additional voice in the cast versus a named character? Because I know a lot of times, like some seemingly big characters, like I know Jeff Bennett came in and did Derek for Fungus Among Us and Phineas and Ferb Effect, but he was never actually credited. We just kind of did a little detective work, and I was like, wouldn't you think the big villain would be credited as main cast? How does that get determined?
So that's a question for casting.
Okay.
That I don't necessarily have a say in, but that it's interesting because sometimes, for instance, Alien Pilot was the character's name.
Right.
He was credited as Alien Pilot. It really just comes down to sometimes a decision that's outside of our kind of control. But for me, I think the big difference is you'll find me in a lot of episodes as under the additional voices, and there's a bunch of us. I mean, and you'll go through that and you'll go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize Carlos Elzraki was there, and Diedrich Bader, and these amazing, talented Pam Adlon, like just as additional voices.
We know Dan Swamp decided to go with Ergo for Ferb. Was there any other role where you tried to do the character, but they just decided to go with somebody else instead, specifically? Or
it's an interesting question. There was a character that I voiced in Coach, Kevin Michael Richardson's character, the coach goes to a support group for people who've been abducted by aliens.
Yeah, that was a unique episode because that was, I think, the first time Cavendish appeared without Dakota, which was a big deal.
So in that episode, there were two characters that were in that meeting, and at one point, I had done both of them, and the guys had decided that they had wanted to bring in Hal Sparks, the character actor, to do the other person.
Yeah.
Was so much better. It was so much better because it's one thing to again, when you're using your own vocal instrument and you're playing off of yourself, it's really cool. But to see the work of an actor that you respect and get to work with them is really kind of satisfying. I think I was doing a bad Jesse Ventura. I was doing like this sort of thing, if I recall.
I think one of them made it in. I think the guy who's like a turkey or something along those lines. Do you have anything that you're writing, moving into writing potentially at all? Or
oh wow, okay, going for it.
Well, you mentioned other people working on writing, but yeah.
So I do have a pilot that I'm working on that I may or may not be co-writing with someone involved with this show, but I can't really talk about it. But yes, I may or may not be writing or have written a pilot with someone involved with Milo Murphy's Law.
That is amazing. Bringing your sense of comedy straight through the Disney TVA. That's
I mean,
we're working on something along those lines.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where things are right now. I hopefully if things go the way my gut is telling me, there'll be some cool stuff to talk about at some point soon.
No, that's amazing. So since you've done so many aliens in Milo, can we expect, given that Candace Against the Universe is set in outer space, to hear you as any aliens in that film?
So I can say that you will probably be able to hear me if you keep an ear out, but I can't say who and I can't say where. But that is all I can say.
All right, so we'll keep an ear out for your voice in Candace Against the Universe, which hopefully that'll be this summer.
Also, you had asked the question that you'd sent along these, which I really appreciate because I've got ADD. So if I don't have, I really do. Like if I don't have a thing.
No, I totally get it. Just follow the train of thought and see where it goes.
You were gonna ask or had asked if in Cavendish Unleashed, which one of us, D or I, had voiced the giant alien.
Yeah,
that was me.
That was you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And we know there was a deleted scene from Sphere and Loathing with him. Did you get to do work for that got cut, or did they cut that before they brought you in for it?
No, I think I did. It's been so long. I think I did, if I recall, but I don't mean to speak out of school. So
no, that was. I mean, we saw the boards for the deleted Perry alien fight scene, so that was one of those things that just gets cut, but it seemed really cool.
Just never enough cabin puss. I just love.
No, and that's the saddest thing. If we don't get season 3, there's gonna be no more cabin puss, which is a tragedy. It's a national nightmare.
It's a national nightmare.
And then baby cabin puss.
Well, baby cabin puss is yeah. That's
which also got cut, which is pretty crazy.
he cabin puss. The aliens calling him an abomination. That was kind of like one of those. It was in the script, but we would.
You definitely took it to the next level as it went on.
Super funny.
Do you believe that cabin puss is the cure to all the ails of the world?
I think that's obvious.
Absolutely.
This could all have been prevented if it was, if we could just have cabin puss.
Have you gotten to meet Weird Al Yankovic?
I have. Yeah, I've recorded with Hal.
Oh man, that's fantastic. Does he live up to the hero? Because I know you said you enjoyed his music as a kid.
Absolutely. Yeah, beyond.
Favorite romance in Milo Murphy's Law?
Favorite romance? That's a tough one.
They have done a lot more confirmed romance in Milo than they ever did in Phineas.
That's true. I was gonna say Dakota and Nachos, his love of snack foods.
Dakota and Nachos.
Yeah, that resonates with me.
I feel that.
Yeah. Oh, Cake! Somebody said Cake Explosion is their favorite episode of Milo Murphy's Law. I love. There's just so many fun storylines, and the crew was just so funny. Scott Peterson, who was a writer and producer on the show as well, was super funny.
Oh, did you or Dee voice Recurring Raccoon? This is big. We don't know who voiced Recurring Raccoon.
I think it was Dee.
That was
not me.
That one was Dee. All right.
Yeah.
That's cool to know.
I wish I was Recurring Raccoon, but I'm not.
Let's see. What's your favorite song from Milo Murphy's Law? Personally, for me, I think it's I Chase You, You Chase Me, or I'm Taking a Stroll, or I'm a Catastrophe is up there too from Milo in Space.
I mean, the Lumberjack stuff was really super stuck in my head.
Chop, chop, chop.
Chop was so good. I love that. Rooting for the Enemy, also one of the earlier songs I really liked.
Yeah, that was definitely they were pulling that out for the top. It's like we got to show everybody this is what the show is. That was a weird thing about that episode was that it's one of the only episodes where Milo doesn't have his backpack at the football game, and we've all wondered why he makes such a big deal about his backpack, and that is literally I think the only episode where he didn't lose it and he just doesn't have his backpack at the football game.
Well, I would say like maybe it's a stadium thing. They don't let you bring out cool backpacks and
that makes sense.
Yeah, I can't bring your own snacks.
Lard World's pretty lenient though. They're just like bring whatever in, please.
That's my head canon. So there you go. Take it or leave it.
How'd you get into voice acting? Like I know you said you did like Turtle Talk with Crush at Disney. Was that like one of your first voice acting roles within Disney, or did you like do a show before that, or?
I mean, I've been a theater actor most of my life. So I went to school for stage acting and got my degree in theater. Yeah, the first thing I ever did was a short film that I don't think ever came out, which would have been about 10 years ago now.
Oh, wow. So that's a lot you got done in 10 years. That's pretty impressive.
I mean, it's not bad. It's been a fun run. Rob Paulson has a quote that he says, which is the best gig or his favorite gig is the next one. And that I kind of like to adopt that because I think that for me, it's about a body of work, and I just love doing this job. I love it. I got my actual start and figured out like voiceover was what I wanted to do when I was out of college, and I was working at Disney, and then had another job as a janitor. And I would listen to a podcast called Talkin' Tunes with Rob Paulson, which is still available. It was on the Nerdist for a while. And on that episode, I would listen to all these voice actors talk about their story and how they got started, and realized that was the thing I had wanted to do. And working for Disney was a real big dream. And now it's just, I'm so fortunate to say it's like a huge part of my life. I get to work with the company and on all these really cool things. So it's really fun. Do I like Milo Murphy's Law or Phineas and Ferb better?
Ooh.
Do we have to pick? It's
like, I know you have the personal connection to Milo, but on the other hand,
I love Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas is iconic
And what's funny is I went back and watched Phineas and Ferb as an adult. Like I missed it because I was in college. So I didn't grow up watching it like a lot of people did. I was in school and I had like an ancillary connection to it because of work. But when I started working on Milo, one of the things we have to do is research shows. So you go to like anytime creators have a show, you want to go back to see what they did before to kind of get a flavor or an idea of it.
Right.
So I was hooked after the Star Wars special. And in fact, I got to work with Ross Marquand at a table read for something else, and he was Han Solo in that, and I was such a geek about it because I love Star Wars. But yeah, I mean, I loved Phineas and Ferb. But I really love Milo, and I'm a sucker for science fiction. And as a kid, like this is a show I would have just absolutely devoured. So as an adult who's basically paid to be a kid, it's really cool.
No, yeah, and I love what they've done with the plot lines with Milo too. That really it kind of drives the show forward, and so you're always kind of anticipating, the next development in the plot line, which I think they're pretty well spaced out. And I know we all talk about this, but the introduction of Cavendish and Dakota, with them making two different versions of a lot of the first episodes, like one with them, one without, that's still just crazy.
Yeah, you're talking about the in the background?
Yeah, in the background of the couple season 1 episodes where they'd swap them out, and
So that's unreal. When I found out about that, and so that's something that you were asking earlier. Like, was there ever anything that Dan and Swampy told us that not a lot of people knew? Um, Before anyone caught on that there were different edits, Dan had shared with us some of the things that were happening in the reruns. Like certain versions would have them not in the background, and I still don't know all of those changes. Like you would have to go back and watch them, and I don't know which version is on Disney Plus. So yeah, I don't know which edit of the version made it.
favorite Phineas and Ferb song. Is it gonna be a classic like Get You Goo or Busted, or are you gonna go something more obscure, or
What is the song? I'm really upset that I can't remember it. Uh, it's a song that Doof sings. It's a love song.
oh, Evil Love?
Evil Love.
It's the age-old story of an evil boy and an evil girl.
So this last summer, I was with Dan after an event, and there was we got invited to a concert where someone was doing a Love Handle cover band, and I got to watch Dan perform Evil Love live.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing. It was just so, and it was all a group of people that had grown up watching it or were super obsessed with it, and it was a total surprise. Like no one knew that Dan was going to show up. No one knew he was going to sing. It was really cool, and just absolutely something that I will treasure forever.
Yeah, maybe narrowing it down. Favorite Love Handle song.
I can't. I like them all.
My favorite. Oh yeah, don't make you choose. My favorite is It's a Giant 3D Scrapbook. A lot of people don't remember that one. Let's see. Were you ever a backup singer for Milo? Do you sing?
I do sing. I was not a backup singer for Milo. Aaron Jacobs would be the person to talk about all that because that was a big part of what he did. But I do sing. I've sung on some other shows, and something coming out soon. Who's my favorite character to voice? Game Man wants to know. I really loved voicing Hanbei the Undying for Sekiro. He was a lot of fun because I got to do my deep, angry voice, which I don't get to do a lot. So that was fun. But I also sometimes get to lend a voice to Drac from Hotel Transylvania for the video game Hotel Transylvania 3 Monsters Overboard. I got to say or not say blah, blah, blah. So that was really fun. I just feel really lucky. I mean, I love this gig. I love getting to do what I do. And it's just crazy that I keep getting to work with great people and with great characters and have people that love watching it as much as you guys do. This is a treat. It's so funny. However you want a fandom is perfectly fine. If you like a season more than another, I tend to be a person that I'm about the smorgasbord. I like a little from everything.
Yeah.
So I don't really like within the inner workings of a thing. I love Star Wars. People ask me like which one is my favorite. My favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi, but I love all the Star Wars. I love something from everything. Clone Wars just ended and crushed my soul. It was so good.
Oh man, the work that Dee did for that, mind blowing. How he manages to differentiate the clones.
The best part is talking about Clone Wars with Dee because he loves that show and The Bad Batch. If you guys have not watched Clone Wars, you want to see what a master actor D. Bradley Baker is. He does a scene doing the same voice because he's voicing a clone, so that inherently they need to sound the same. But he does 6 unique versions of a clone unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's mind blowing. And if he doesn't win an Emmy, there's no justice.
Has he not won an Emmy yet?
I don't know. I think he might have, but I'm saying for that performance, if he doesn't get nominated, I don't know what to do.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience as far as words of encouragement for the craziness of the quarantine?
I would say that everybody take as much time as you need to go through this process. This is a lot for a lot of people. It's a lot for people all across the world. But take some time to actually be kind and actively kind and reach out to people that maybe you haven't talked to in a while, family, friends. And now's a great time too, if you're a fan of something, to arrange, if you wanted, if something that makes you happy, sharing that with someone else. And if in this case, Milo, Murphy's Law is something that you really love, I'd say like arrange some group watches and encourage people to check it out. And especially because it's a show at the core about kids coming over adversity and making the best out of it. And I think that this is going to be something that all of us are going to have a universal example of now. But keep having fun. And in this time, if this is something that you guys are, you're interested in voiceover and animation, this is the time to be practicing and figuring out how you guys can get into it. And I always say that if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Absolutely. And, I know Dee has the site, iwannnabeavoiceactor.com, which I've looked around. For a voice reel, do you have a voice reel? Like
I do.
For voice acting? Like what tips would you give for like if you were going to create a voice acting reel?
So I actually work at a company with Bill Farmer called Toonhouse. If you guys want to check it out, Bill and his son Austin and I work together making voiceover demo reels, and you can actually see for yourself and listen for yourself like what goes into that. 60 seconds to 90 seconds of animation or commercial work. We do custom copy. We work with you. We direct you. And we basically, you want to keep practicing your for animation. Impressions are great. Characters are more important. Being able to come up with a real vivid character. So I would say some advice that was given to me is do your celebrity impressions badly and your family and friends perfectly. Doing an impression of your grandpa's laugh or your teacher's laugh and those sorts of things. That's what you want to do.
Okay, so last question before you go. Favorite other Disney TVA show outside of Phineas and Ferb or Milo?
That is a tough one. I have to say Amphibia.
Amphibia.
Also New DuckTales. I love New DuckTales a lot because I'm a nerd for everything that Frank and Matt are doing over there.
Oh, yeah. I think somebody asked if you like the new DuckTales or the old DuckTales better.
They can both exist. We can love them both. Yeah, I love New DuckTales. Yeah, it's great.
It's so good.
It's great.
The amount of people that they have on that and just the talent behind it. The writing, too. Insane how they tie everything together.
There was a particular moment in one of the episodes of DuckTales when they had Darkwing introduced again, and they had one of the original actors from Darkwing Duck reprise his role as Quackerjack, Michael Bell, who was one of my favorite voice actors growing up. I fell out of my chair because it was 2 lines. It was totally like could have been anybody, but they got the guy to come back and do it. And I was like,
yes. No, the attention to detail and everything is just, it's amazing. And they brought back Jim Cummings, which, I mean, legend.
Amazing.
Legend.
Yeah, absolutely. I love working with Jim. Every chance I get to work with him is a masterclass.
No, that's really cool. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Of course, yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the live stream. And yeah, it's amazing. We got somebody from the Milo universe to actually come and talk about this show, which is just fantastic.
This is so, I'm looking at all the chat comments here. Thank you guys also so much. And you truly, it means a lot that you guys are watching and enjoying the show. Now when things are crazy, we have to do an even better job of holding on to the things that we love and the people that we love. So enjoy stuff loudly, be crazy. If you want any more insider info about Milo, as much as I can give, and if you want to talk about voiceover, you can find me on Instagram, Brock Talks, or Twitter, Brock Vox, and John will tell you I'm pretty active and will respond to pretty much anything.
Absolutely, yeah. So you got a question that's not a secret kept under Octalian oath, go ahead and add him on Twitter, and he'll hopefully respond.
All right. Well, so from Alien Pilot and Doctor Not Sorry, I'm not sorry, and I'll see you later.
Alrighty, bye, Brock. Thank you so much.
Of course. Bye.